Hey there guys, so let's say you have a Jeep Gladiator or a Jeep Wrangler or a Ram 1500 with the new Gen 3 EcoDiesel engine, and when you go back to the dealership for service intervals, it blows you away how much they charge you. And let's say you decide that you're going to start doing this yourself at home for lots of reasons, one of them being to save a lot of money. Well, I've already showed you the first oil change interval, which I did a little bit early to get the break-in materials out. So I showed you earlier this year in depth which oil you're going to need, which oil filter you're going to need, and how to do that. But then when you get to your second oil change interval, or your second service interval, I guess we should call it, it's a little bit more involved. So today it's a nice day. Just thought I would take this opportunity to kind of go over what you're going to want to do and what you're going to need to do it when you go to do that second interval. Hey guys, it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day out here today, so I thought I would take advantage of it because this time of the year in Kentucky, you don't get very many days like this where it's 60 and sunny. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second maintenance interval on this truck. My dash meter is at like 15% oil life, so I've got a little time left to go. But like I said, it's a nice day, so I'm going to go ahead and knock this out. And I thought I would just take this opportunity to kind of show you what you're going to be dealing with if you decide to do this on your own, because the second service interval on these new Gen 3 EcoDiesels is a little bit more involved. So this is the air filter. Try to get the part number in here for you on the air filter. And you can probably go to like your third maintenance interval on this, depending on where you live. But out here where I live, you guys know, we have lots of gravel roads and it gets really dusty in the summer and the fall. So I'm going to go ahead and do the air filter now, and I won't have to worry about it again until this time next year. This is the fuel filter. There's the part number on it. And this fuel filter is shared with the 2019 and 2020 Cummins 6.7 trucks, just FYI. So this has to be changed every other oil change. And these are about $37-ish if you shop online. Now in order to change this, you're going to need an 1 1/8" socket. The camera is not wanting to focus today, I apologize, but you're going to need a 1 1/8" socket to change it. And I'm going to show you how to do that because I haven't showed you that part before. And this is the oil filter with the part number. The Gen 3 has its own oil filter. You cannot use a Gen 2 filter. And to change this one, you're going to need a 27mm socket. I'm sure there's a metric socket that works on this, but this 1 1/8" is all that I had, and it fits, so I'm going to use that. It's also going to be handy, obviously you got to have a 1/2" ratchet, but it's going to be handy to have a long extension for when you go to do the oil filter. And then this time around, here's the oil that I'm going to use. This is Modal XS. It's a 5W40 synthetic. If you look this up on their website, it is stamped with the proper specification for the Gen 3 EcoDiesel engine, which is FCA Material Standard 12991. All right, 12991 is the new spec. I don't think that it's actually on the bottles. No, I don't see it on the bottle. But like I said, you can go to their website and it does list it very plainly there on the website. So again, a brand new spec for the Gen 3 diesel engine that the Gen 2 engine did not specify. Keep an eye on that. You don't want to use regular old Shell Rotella diesel oil in the new Gen 3 engine. There's lots of reasons for that I'm not going to go into right now. But if you're going to do your second maintenance interval yourself, this is what you're going to need. And it's not going to take very long, guys. It's really not. And you're going to save hundreds of dollars. I don't know how many people I've heard say that they went to the dealership to get their fuel filter changed, and the dealers are charging $200 or more to change this filter, and it's literally a 5-minute job. So if you do this yourself at home, just get your materials together, do it yourself. You can save a boatload of money. So I'm going to start with the engine oil filter, and obviously it's right here. If you use a long extension like this, you can get down there on it really easy. If you have a Jeep with this engine, you're going to notice that your air box and your air duct work is all going to be over here, so it's going to cover this up. So you may want to remove some of that to make it easier, or like I said, with a long extension, you should be able to just snake down in there. It's hard to do with one hand, but see, you can get it down on there pretty easy. Now, when you go to put the new filter back in, the torque specification is listed on the cap. So don't over tighten this. The cap, the housing, all that is plastic. You don't want to over tighten it. If you crack it, you're obviously going to have an oil leak. And then I'm going to move over to the air filter. Now here's something that kind of annoys me. Looks like Ram has taken a page out of the General Motors book, some really stupid engineering. Instead of having the finger operated clips that worked just fine for decades, they decided to bolt the air box together. I mean, who would want to be able to have quick and easy access to check your air filter element on a vehicle made for work, right? I mean, God forbid that we should make this easy. So you're gonna have to go around here and take all those bolts out. Now you can use, as you can see, you can use a Phillips screwdriver on it, but that's gonna take you a while. If you have access to a electric ratchet, which I happen to have, one of the best things I ever bought, then the best thing to do is just use a little socket and your electric ratchet and go around there and run those out. I have no idea why they decided to bolt together the air box. You know, it's a very basic maintenance item that should be easy to get to, but you know, it is what it is. All right, if you guys look over there, I think you can see it. Once again, the camera's not focused, but I put a Fumoto quick change oil change valve over there on the oil pan, and I highly recommend those. It makes it so easy to change the oil. But the meat and potatoes of what I want to really focus on today is the fuel filter. I did a very in-depth video earlier this year showing you exactly which oil you're going to need and which filter you're going to need and how to change the oil in the oil filter on this new Gen 3 EcoDiesel, but I haven't showed you the fuel filter yet. And this is a maintenance item that's super simple, but a lot of people are kind of worried about it. So, you know, I have access to a car lift in a shop right down the hill from me. So normally I would not be on my back in the driveway doing this, but I'm going to do it this way today because this is how most people will have to do it. And I just wanted to show you how easy it actually is to do this on your own. The fuel filter is 37 bucks. You can do this in 5 minutes and save yourself a lot of money. So let me crawl under here and show you what you're going to need to do. Okay, so if you crawl up under your driver's side front door and look on the inside of your frame rail, you will see your fuel filter housing. Now right here is the valve, the petcock that drains the water from the system. So you can turn this and water will drain out of here if there's any water in there. So that's a good idea to do first, is to open that up and drain any water that's in there. And then you're simply going to put your 1 1/8" or metric equivalent socket on here and just spin this cap off. And the filter element is up inside of there, and it is not made onto the cap the way that the oil filter is. It's just a separate element. So you're going to take the cap off, and then I'll show you the old filter when I get it out of here. But first, and hopefully the camera is focused to the point where you can sort of see what I'm doing here, I'm going to turn this little petcock here. I'm just going to spin this by hand and see if any water comes out. And it looks like I don't really have any water in there right now. Nothing's coming out, so that's good news. And I haven't really seen the water in fuel lights, so now I'm just going to get a ratchet, put on here, and spin this cap off. Now, if you do have access to a car lift, obviously it would make this job a lot easier. So, got my big old socket here, and it looks like I'm probably going to have to get an extension on it, but I'm just going to put that on there, give it a twist. I'm going to go nice and slow because all of this is plastic. And there's obviously some resistance, but it's not real bad. So again, when you go to put this back on, you don't want to over tighten this one either. I've seen these things get over tightened and it becomes a nightmare the next time you have to service your fuel filter. All right, we're getting a little bit looser here. So at this point, I'm going to stop the video right here. You can see how I'm taking this off. So before diesel fuel comes out of here and gets all over my camera equipment, I'm going to stop right here and I'll show you. I'll resume here in just a minute when I get this cap completely off and get the filter element out. But that's pretty much all there is to it, guys, as far as removing the old filter. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, so like I said, be advised that when you do take the cap off, you're gonna get some diesel fuel on the ground. I'm out here in the gravel. I'm gonna clean this up with some stuff later on, put some oil dry or something on here, just kind of soak it up. But it's a good idea if you've got a big catch pan to put that down there, because you're gonna lose a little bit of diesel fuel. And then of course your filter just slides out. So here's the deal with the O-rings. You've got an O-ring seal in here. See that one? It's very important that that O-ring seal is in the correct place. And then over here on the cap, you've got an O-ring seal on there also. Now the funny thing is, this one is really loose. I mean, look at all that slack right there. Look at that. Very, very loose. But there should be a new O-ring for this included with your fuel filter when you buy it. So all you're going to do is take your new fuel filter, slide it up in the housing, make sure that your O-ring is where it's supposed to be, put your new O-ring on your cap, put the cap back on, tighten it down, and you're ready to go. You can see how easy this is. It's a piece of cake, literally a 5-minute job. I'm spending more time recording it and talking about it than it takes to actually do it. So don't give your dealership $250 to do this, guys. Don't do it. Here is my new fuel filter. Here is the new O-ring that goes on the cap. And I did check to make sure that my O-ring is installed in here. I got to go through there and make sure it's in the groove properly, but the O-ring is in there on the new one. So I'm going to reassemble this and then this part will be done. So you see how easy that is, but there's a couple more things that I do want to mention. You'll notice that there is some lettering on the top of this filter, and you see these two little notches here. This is the top of the filter. So when you go to put the new filter back in, this part goes up. Reason being is because on the bottom where that O-ring is that I showed you, that one seals against the cap, okay? So as far as orientation, this is up. The other thing is, you saw me do this on the ground out here in the gravel. I'm taking a lot of extra precautions and paying attention to what I'm doing, but you want to make sure you don't get any contaminants at all in your fuel system. You don't want little pieces of dirt, grass, you know, gravel, water, whatever. You don't want anything in your fuel system because these fuel systems are super expensive to repair. So pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure everything is good and clean. There's nothing on your filter, your new one. When you put it in there, nothing gets down in your cap. Make sure it's all clean. But you can see how easy that was, guys. It didn't take me hardly any time at all. So fuel filter's done, and now I'm going to move on to the oil filter and the oil and the air filter, which I have done. Like I said, I've done a prior video on all the oil stuff, so I'm not going to go over that again. But the other thing is, make sure you keep good records. You know, I've got all my receipts down in the box here, and what I usually do is I write down the date that I do this, the mileage. I write all that down on the receipts. I staple them together, and I have a file folder that I keep in the truck. So I always have all my receipts and all my service records. I show which parts I used, when I use them, you know, and that way if I ever have a warranty issue, I should be good to go. So that's a good idea to do also. Okay, so after you put the new fuel filter in the old days you had to prime it, but you don't have to do that on these new trucks. So what you do is, and the procedure's in the manual, by the way, but basically what you do is you get in the truck and you don't touch the pedal because you don't want to start the engine, but you hit the push to start button to turn it on, turn the ignition on, And what that does is it automatically primes the pump. There's a lift pump in the tank, and it will automatically turn on that pump, and it'll prime the system, fill the new filter up with fuel. You wait 30 seconds, turn the truck off, do it again. You just want to go through that cycle a couple of times to prime the system electronically. And then on the third or fourth attempt, you can go ahead and start the engine, and it should be running good. It's a good opportunity also to get under the truck and look at what you just did and make sure that everything is tight, nothing's leaking. You don't want to have fuel leaking or anything like that. So crawl under real quick while the truck is running with the park brake set, everything's safe, obviously. Crawl under and just look and make sure that everything is nice and tight and you don't have leaks. But yeah, after that, you should be good to go. Guys, really the truth of the matter is it's not all that difficult to do the maintenance on these diesel engines. I mean, it's still expensive compared to a gas engine, but if you do it yourself, it's done right. You're using the right materials, and you do save a lot of money. It's not hard to do. Kind of gives you a good feeling of accomplishment when you take care of your own stuff. Most of the dealerships have minimum wage employees that only do oil changes. So most of the time, if you take your diesel truck in for service, you're not getting a diesel technician doing your service most of the time. You're going to get some young minimum wage employee. Not that there's anything wrong with those people. I'm not knocking those people. But the fact is you're getting somebody who doesn't necessarily care or doesn't necessarily know exactly what they're doing on these trucks so it's better to do it yourself. It's a little safer, you save money, good feeling of accomplishment. It's the way to go. But I'm going to finish this up. If you guys have any questions about doing the second bigger maintenance interval on the new EcoDiesels, drop them below and I'll try to help you out. But all in all, not too bad of a job. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody, and I will talk to you later on.